A deadly break-and-enter call. A teenager killed last night after a police-involved shooting in Aurora. Good afternoon. The SIU is investigating after an exchange of gunfire between a teenage suspect and police. The neighborhood still on edge after what happened. CTV's John Musselman is live at the scene with reaction to all this. John.
Well, Nathan, yes, a very devastating situation for the people in this neighborhood. The 17-year-old was shot in the driveway area of a home behind me. Now, we're going to show you some video here. First, you'll hear the sound of the bullets. If we can play that now. So as you can hear in that video from a doorbell cam, multiple gunshots were fired, more than a dozen. Now, police confirmed there was an exchange of gunfire between the 17-year-old and 4 police officers. They were responding to this neighborhood on a reported break-in. The SIU, which has taken over this investigation, says there is some kind of interaction and an exchange of gunfire with that suspect when police arrived on the scene. Now, the SIU is now gathering evidence. We also noticed a shotgun on the driveway of the residence. The neighbor who lives there told us that when they came home, they saw the 17-year-old's body on the roadway. Now, why this happened will all be looked at by the SIU and how it played out. We don't know who the 17-year-old was killed. Here is what some residents had to tell us and the SIU just a short time ago.
We saw on our doorbell cops kind of banging at the door, cops and a SWAT team, and we were scared, obviously. Kind of asked them through the doorbell what was happening. They wouldn't give us any information, just asked us if we were home or if anyone was in the home that shouldn't be, which we didn't know of anything. They said, identify yourself, we can't tell you anything else. If you come here, you can talk to us. We came here, and there was a shooting right pretty much on the at the end of our driveway.
4 bullet holes in my work truck. There's one in the soffit of our front porch. Scared, obviously, but it's a good neighborhood. I think it's a one-off.
Hopefully.
It looks like it was targeted, like the guys went straight to that house. It's not like they were, it wasn't like a break-in. Nobody goes to a house with that type of gun for a break-in, right?
We heard 3 bangs outside that my mother immediately thought was gunshot. My father and I were like, there's no way that could possibly happen here. Heard more gunshots from up the street, echoing somewhere, and then cops had pulled out guns and started shooting.
Soon after officers arrived at the scene from York Regional Police, there was an exchange of gunfire between the 17-year-old male and 4 police officers. The male was struck multiple times and pronounced deceased at the scene.
Again, now the scene here remains sealed off by police. The SIU continue their investigation. We did speak to one neighbor who says that there are at least 4 bullet holes in his vehicle on the end of the road. That shows you the amount of gunfire that was taking place here last night. We'll have much more on this story tonight on CTV News at 5 and at 6 o'clock. Reporting live in Aurora, I'm John Musselman. Nathan, back to you.
Right. Thank you, John.
In North York, another dramatic incident. Several people were taken to hospital after a pickup truck collided with a TTC bus early this morning. The crash happened near Yonge and Finch at around 4:20 a.m. Paramedics say a total of 8 people were injured, including the drivers of both vehicles and 6 passengers from the bus. One man, who did not want to appear on camera, was across the street at the time and came over to see what happened. He says he heard what sounded like an explosion and saw the truck driver in the aftermath of the crash.
He actually looked like he had blood all over him, but he just looked like he was just out of it. I told him to sit down. He didn't listen to me, like he was up to something. Next thing I know, I saw the guy run.
Police say they caught up with the driver after a short foot pursuit. He was arrested on charges that have yet to be announced and then taken to hospital. Investigators said none of the injuries in this incident appeared to be life-threatening.
A 39-year-old woman from Toronto is dead following a crash on the 401 in Cambridge. Police say a wheel detached from a van and struck an SUV traveling eastbound on the 401 near Town Line Road just before 2 p.m. yesterday. OPP say the wheel detached from a van traveling westbound, which then hit a transport truck.
It is an emotional scene always when tragedy strikes, and thankfully we do have supports available for those witnesses that may have seen something tragic at scene, the families involved. We do have supports that we can offer, as well as the police officers and the other first responders that respond to these tragic incidents.
An investigation is ongoing, and police are asking anyone who may have dash cam video to come forward.
Meanwhile, 2 people are in hospital with minor injuries following a crash in the area of Bathurst and Steeles shortly before 10 last night. Dash cam video provided to CTV News Toronto appears to indicate the crash came after a police chase. Toronto paramedics say neither of the people injured were police officers. Police have not provided any information about the incident at this point. York Regional Police have now charged a 65-year-old woman after a child was struck and killed by a school bus back in June. This happened just before 8 a.m. on June 19th near Kleinberg Summit Way and Pierre Burton Boulevard in Vaughan. Witnesses told CTV News a 6-year-old boy was struck by the school bus while he was running to catch it. The boy, who was a student at St. Stephen's Catholic Elementary School, died at the scene. The driver of the bus remained on scene. She has now been charged with dangerous operation causing death.
We have an update to a story we brought you earlier in the week. A Brampton man tasered by police after he says they got the wrong house. Officers are standing by their use of force, but no charges have been laid. CTV's Sean Leathong has the details.
I'm an innocent boy. I don't get mixed up in things. I go to work, I come home, and that's all I do. You know, people come, they tase me, they could have killed me.
Junior Henry maintains that he has no involvement in criminal activity. This after tactical officers entered his Brampton home Sunday night, tasering the 46-year-old in his own bedroom.
They shot me here.
Yesterday, we showed you Henry's taser wound, along with the debris left inside his main floor apartment after police officers blew through the lock, breaking glass, tasering and handcuffing Henry for 2 hours, along with 4 neighbors living in the apartment downstairs.
They said, wrong house, release them. I'm telling you, that's why I heard. And that's when they did release us.
Henry says he could see that police were also at a home across the street. According to Peel Regional Police, the raid was led by Halton Regional Police, who said in a statement that reads in part, HRPS had information that required exigent and simultaneous police entry into 2 homes to ensure the preservation of life. The Peel Regional Police assisted with entry into one of the homes while HRPS officers entered the other. Peel Police sent a statement yesterday that reads in part saying they entered the residence and arrested 5 individuals, 2 of which were tasered due to the immediate need to apprehend. The occupants in the residence were connected to the above noted criminal investigation. Despite Peel Police saying occupants were connected to criminality, no charges have been laid, with Halton Police saying in their statement, while no charges have been laid at this point, the operation on Sunday evening was brought to a successful conclusion. Halton Police refused to provide proof that they had entered the correct home, nor would they say which residents had criminal activity, citing the sensitive nature of the investigation.
Exigent circumstances allow the police to enter a private residence without seeing a judge beforehand.
Criminal lawyer Kim Schofield says police can enter a home under these circumstances if they have information that someone is being held captive or if there's destruction of evidence. While he was cuffed, Junior Henry said police told him this was a kidnapping investigation before he was released without charge.
For sure, the individual or individuals affected, they should pursue police complaints, for sure.
Junior Henry says he's never been in trouble with the law and is completely innocent.
You're supposed to check backgrounds or find out who is living there before you break and enter people's place. If my mom were here, and you know, or my wife were here and the kid, you know, bad things could have happened to them.
And that was CTV's Sean Leathong. Still ahead, as preparations for the World Cup kickoff in Toronto get closer, we'll tell you how the rising cost of holding the event may impact the long-term benefits for the city.
Now we take a live look outside at our city on this Halloween day, and we've got some cloud cover, maybe a little spooky, but the weather, it might as well be spring out there. Once again, it is warm. Jessica Smith is here with the specifics. That's good news for trick-or-treating, although there's something else in the mix, potentially.
There is a little rain, but we are keeping a close eye on that. But you're right, it is going to stay warm. And yesterday, we set a laundry list of temperature records, including out towards Pearson. A new one set. The last one was from 1950. So we have another warm day and likely another record-breaking day on tap when it comes to those temperatures. We're keeping a close eye on that rain right now, sitting just north of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. Bay. We're holding on to just some cloud cover, but it is extremely mild. We are looking at human X values as we welcome in this final day of October. Right now, we're at 21 here in the city. It feels like 26. The same through Windsor, Niagara Falls, feeling like 27. And we're not losing any of this heat as we make our way in towards the evening. Even further east, they're feeling into the 20s. Coming up, we'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, and we will break down hour by hour that trick-or-treating forecast. Not a wash by any means, but you will need to bring the umbrella. Those details in a moment. Right now, back to Nathan and Michelle.
Thank you, Jess. Well, if you're caught behind the wheel of a vehicle blocking an intersection, get ready to pay more.
The city has more than tripled the fines. You could be paying up to $500 in penalties. Our Beth McDonnell has the story.
Blocking the box, basically, is where you put yourself and your vehicle in a situation where you're obstructing the clear pathway of an intersection.
This Blocking the Box informational video by Toronto Police aims to raise awareness as officers enhance enforcement across the city. Fines for blocking the box are up, way up, from $90 to $450. In a community safety zone, it's up from $120 to $500.
As a result of blocking the box, what you're doing is you're creating so much congestion through the downtown core.
When you are blocking an intersection,
police say when a driver blocks the box, they not only put pedestrians and cyclists at risk, as they can get pushed out of a crosswalk into a live lane of traffic, it adds to the crippling gridlock. Officers say when issuing a ticket, they'll use body-worn cameras to capture infractions, and to minimize disruptions, they'll guide drivers away to a parking area or side street.
The distinction we make, is it poor driving, driver error, or is it just a lazy and selfish decision made by somebody to put themselves in a situation where they took a chance to get through and all of a sudden found themselves stuck in an intersection?
A costly infraction, some say, is just too costly.
Good to know that it's a fine now, but $450 is too much. Please don't do that. $450 is too much, man.
Traffic services officers will target peak hours and focus on major intersections across the city. But drivers aren't sure the hefty fines will ease congestion.
It's more in the awareness or education kind of thing, I believe, more than fines.
Something needs to be done. Otherwise, they're just adding more police officers to help guide the traffic through.
Hoping that by making drivers pay up for blocking the box, safety is improved and more congested streets become clear. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
The World Cup is coming in less than 2 years, and the city is still searching for cash to foot the bill.
Now, one community stands to lose FIFA funding for a soccer training facility it was promised. CTV's Natalie Johnson has more.
With less than 2 years to go before the World Cup comes to town, the city is under pressure to hold the line on climbing costs. But the price tag on capital work at BMO Field is now higher than first thought, meaning money earmarked for Etobicoke will likely get pulled to pay for it.
We want to stay on time and on budget, and any place FIFA says that's over a requirement, we can trim that. We're doing it.
Under the original plan, Etobicoke Centennial Park was supposed to receive 2 world-class practice pitches and 2 field houses, incorporated into a broader revitalization of the West End gem. FIFA, though, has now halved those training site requirements, meaning Centennial Park stands to lose out.
The city is now going to have to backfill that money and manage the pressure about the planned and ongoing work in the park.
It all comes amid a municipal effort to maintain morale for the mammoth event in the face of a bill the city is struggling to pay.
The whole sales job of these big international events is that they should be leaving our communities better than they found it, that they should be adding more services, more infrastructure.
Toronto touted the legacy infrastructure that outlasted the Pan Am Games. The hope among officials for the World Cup is that the city would enjoy the benefits of hosting the event well after the soccer is done.
There is the excitement of the event and the tourism that it generates, but it's also a catalyst to propel the city forward to do much of the capital work it always intended to do. And much of that work has been built into the sticker price of FIFA.
We can't look at World Cup as, oh, this is a fund somewhere else and it's a windfall. It has to deliver a fantastic event, and that's its focus.
Councillor Stephen Holliday vowing to ensure Etobicoke doesn't get the short end of the stick by losing out on a professional pitch, as the city looks to find the millions it still needs for a bill that will soon come due. Natalie Johnson, CTV News.
In Ukraine, 3 people were killed when a residential building was struck by Russian forces today. At least 35 people were injured in the attack in the eastern city of Kharkiv. Ukraine has repeatedly urged the U.S. to allow it to use long-range American missiles to strike air bases deeper in Russia that are used by warplanes to carry bombs. So far, Washington has only allowed some strikes close to the border. In Montreal today, Prime Minister Trudeau told a conference, the war is hurting the entire world, and the longer it goes on, the worse the consequences will be for everyone.
The impacts and the ramifications of Russia's invasion and upending of the international rules-based order and the UN Charter will leave no country anywhere around the world untouched. Standing up for sovereignty, territorial integrity and self-determination is something that matters to every single country in the world. Only when all nations stand together can we truly protect our people and our collective future.
Trudeau accused Moscow of boosting food insecurity, helping spread disinformation, emboldening other totalitarian regimes, and undermining international law. The conference is being held to discuss how to secure the return of Ukrainian prisoners and children detained by Russia. Kyiv says about 20,000 children have been taken, calling it a war crime.
In Spain, state media says the death toll has risen to at least 140 following devastating floods this week. Crews are rescuing stranded residents and searching for those still missing. The floods battered Valencia's infrastructure, sweeping away bridges, roads, and rail tracks. The storm also swamped farmland and destroyed crops. It's estimated the catastrophe caused hundreds of thousands of euros in damage. Calm weather returned to the region today, but the state weather agency issued its highest alert level for a province further north in the Catalonia region. Only 5 days to go until Americans elect a new leader, and the trash talking continues. The U.S. president used the word garbage to describe Donald Trump supporters.
Could it cost Kamala Harris? It already seems to be paying off for Trump. CTV's Joy Malbin reports from Washington.
Hitting battleground Pennsylvania, Kamala Harris promising to take America in a new direction.
And as President of the United States, I will not be looking to score political points. I will be looking to make progress.
But that message of unity is being overshadowed by President Joe Biden's gaffe when he tried to denounce the racist jokes at Donald Trump's rally Sunday.
A speaker at his rally called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization is seen as unconscionable.
The White House tried to clean it up, said Biden misspoke, and that Biden was referring to the comedian who smeared Puerto Ricans, not Trump's supporters. But Trump quickly pounced.
Crooked Joe Biden finally said what he and Kamala really think of our supporters. He called them garbage. No way. No way.
And to drive the point home,
how do you like my garbage truck?
Trump in a garbage truck. He's even fundraising off it, telling supporters, "You are not garbage. Please pledge to donate." Now, the former president is no stranger to hurling insults himself.
We're like a garbage can for the world. They're poisoning the blood of our country.
For Harris, it's not what she wants to be talking about, distancing herself from Biden's blunder.
I think that the president has explained what he meant, but I've said it earlier. I strongly disagree with any criticism of people based on who they vote for.
250 million Americans are not garbage.
While Trump may want to shift focus, Puerto Rican superstar Nicky Jam just withdrew his endorsement over insults at Trump's rally.
Joy Malbin, CTV News, Washington.
Halloween is here, and tonight little ghosts and goblins will be out trick-or-treating across the city in what's expected to be an unseasonably warm evening. CTV's Renee Rogers joins us now with more about this. A lot of excitement in the air. Talk to us about this warm Halloween a lot of Canadians will be enjoying.
That's right, Nathan. What Canadian doesn't have memories of having to wear their costume out trick-or-treating with a full winter coat and maybe even snow pants underneath? Well, if you're going to be trick-or-treating in Toronto this year, don't do that. That is because it's expected to be a warm one. Today, the high 23 or 24 degrees. That's what it's expected to reach according to Environment Canada. And if it does, that would break the previous record of 22 set back in 1971. And keep in mind the normal high for today would be 10. Now, according to the Weather Network, it's thanks to an upper ridge that is centered over the southeastern U.S., which is sending warmth as far north as the shores of James Bay in western Quebec. Now, there is a caveat to this, Nathan, and that is that it will be warm, but there's also a chance of showers. So, well, you might not want to bring your snowsuit. Perhaps if you have some rain gear, that might be something to bring along with you tonight.
All right, so a little spooky there. So what else should people keep in mind for tonight?
A few things. Well, one of them is a warning that came from RCMP actually in BC. They seized 120,000 cannabis edibles from two illegal dispensaries. So that warning came from police there. But you know what? It's something to keep in mind that when you're checking your kids' candy, just make sure that, there is no, cannabis infused candy in there. Some of these ones that they seized looked like actual brand name Halloween candy. Another thing you want to keep in mind, this one comes from foodallergy.org. It gives a few tips for if you have allergies, one of them being, enforce a rule that there's no eating candy until you get home and the parent is able to check over everything. They also suggest, of course, bringing an EpiPen if you have one prescribed to you. And thirdly, RCMP in Newfoundland have released a few tips. They're centered on three things. Be visible if you're out trick-or-treating. Be street smart, so know your child's route. Make sure that they're on the sidewalk. If not, have them walk on the left-hand side of the road against traffic. And thirdly, for drivers, take extra care. Expect that there are going to be little ghosts and goblins running out in front of you without looking both ways. So with those tips and with the warm weather tonight for a lot of southern Ontario and actually other parts of Canada as well, is shaping up to be a pretty good, nice Halloween for tonight, Nathan.
Yeah, for sure. CTV's Renee Rogers with some great Halloween tips. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jess.
Well, as we break down the rest of our day today, no doubt, obviously, it's going to be warm. That's something we all know. But just how warm is it going to be? Potentially record-breaking. Now, as we head throughout the rest of your afternoon, we're holding on to some cloud cover, but we are in the 20s. The bigger issue, more so than the chance of rain later, is the wind. We're looking at those wind gusts, potentially upwards of 70 kilometers an hour, as we see this potential for rain quite literally blow by us. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast. We will go hour by hour looking at your Halloween trick-or-treating forecast and show you what you can expect as we step into November tomorrow. Those details after the break.
Well, happy Halloween, and on this day, you never know what you're going to get. Is it going to be a trick or a treat today? A treat.
Oh, what? Wow. I mean, it's usually pretty cold, right? And it's such a treat for families, especially having to dress up kids for Halloween. You didn't need all that extra stuff along with the Halloween pieces. Mm-hmm. At my kids' school today, there's a parade around the school, and I'm just thinking nobody needs a jacket. It's going to be glorious.
We had a record-breaking day yesterday. We're looking to have another record-breaking day today if we exceed 22.8 degrees. So we're looking at a beautiful, very untraditional fall forecast, especially for Halloween. But as we make our way in towards the afternoon, we're watching for that rain, right? We've been seeing that line of showers looming over the past few hours. We're likely to stay dry into that first half for trick-or-treating, but we're going to break it all down. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. Now, a beautiful start to the day. Lots of sunshine out there. It's like, when you watch the scary movies, it always starts off not too bad and it gets a little spooky later on. That is exactly what's happening with our forecast as we head throughout the day today. Not so scary. It's more on the, I'd say, Casper the Friendly Ghost side of scary. We are looking at cloud cover pushing in right now, and then as we head in towards the evening, there's that chance of some light showers. The wind, again, is going to be the bigger issue. We're looking at gusty Winds maybe upwards of 70 kilometers an hour, so make sure those decorations are secured. As we head in towards the afternoon, though, we're sitting at 21 right now, 21 through Windsor, the same through Ottawa. Anywhere north of Wyerton is a little cooler, but overall we are relatively mild, especially for this time of year. This afternoon, we're looking at a daytime high of 24. We should be at 10 degrees. Really right across southern Ontario, we're in the mid to upper 20s. We have just a hint of a humidex feeling closer to 26. As we make our way in towards this evening overnight, we are watching for the chance of some passing showers, and temperature-wise very mild. As we make our way through the overnight, we should be around 3. We'll sit at 12 degrees. The chance of showers is in a smaller window, but it is there as we head in towards those early trick-or-treating hours. There's the system. We've been watching it all day. It comes with snow further north, so at least we're not dealing with snow, right? As we make our way in towards the afternoon, again, we see the cloud cover continue to increase. The showers are going to be light in nature as they kind of pop up throughout the rest of our day. In and around 3:30, 4 o'clock, so kind of in time for a school pickup for a lot of folks. We're watching for a round of light showers. We get a break in towards about 5 to 6. So again, if you have younger trick-or-treaters and you're going out, you should be okay for a good portion of the GTA. The further west you go and the further east you go, we are looking at light showers. In and around 5:36, we're looking at the potential of a light shower. But again, this is brief and likely drizzle, so we're not looking at a downpour by any means. And then around 7 p.m., we get another break. We get another round of light showers. So again, it comes in these windows. So you just have to kind of keep an eye to the sky. Bring the umbrella with you. You won't need it the entire time, but it is not going to be a completely dry Halloween, but it will be a very warm one. And as we head through the overnight, a little bit of clearing. It's short-lived, though. And then Friday, we are looking at the chance of showers again, but likely it is just a really cloudy day as we welcome in the month of November. So tonight, by no means a wash, but again, just bring the umbrella. You won't need it the entire time. We kind of have pockets of showers here and there, and they're quite light in nature. As we head in towards our weekend, we do a bit of a break and we are back into the sunshine. So your Thursday, your Halloween, it is a little unsettled, but it is not a wash of an evening by any means. So just again, bring the right gear with you. Overnight dropping down to 12 degrees. We ricochet back towards seasonal as we head in towards your Friday, just 11 for the high, 0 for the low. And then getting in towards Saturday, it's not too bad, 10 degrees and a whole lot of sunshine out there, 0 overnight. We fall back with our clocks on Sunday with, again, almost an identical forecast, just a little warmer in the evening. And then we step into a bit of an unsettled stretch as we head in towards the first full week of November. So we are getting a little bit of everything, but we are still staying well above that seasonal mark as we step into a brand new month. And by the time we get to Tuesday next week, we are briefly back into the 20s. So it is an unusual fall season that continues as we kind of settle up one month and step into a brand new one. Michelle, I'll send things back over to you.
Thank you, Jess. Biologists were blown away recently by an event 10,000 feet above the ground they thought was not possible. For more, we're joined by CTV science and tech specialist Dan Riskin. Dan, birds have been studied for centuries. What's the surprise, and why didn't scientists know about it until now?
Well, one of the great things about birds is that they can fly, obviously, and sometimes they fly where it's really hard to watch them. And one of the times they do that is when they migrate. And so this is a study on something called a gray plover, which is a little shorebird, and it was migrating from the Netherlands up towards the Arctic. And when they do that, they migrate at 10,000 feet. That's 3 kilometers up in the air. And they're so high up that we can't really see what they're up to. But now the technology has improved to the fact that now that they can put GPS trackers on these birds that not only track where they go, but also phone home every couple of minutes or every hour to say where they currently are. So biologists can actually just like sit down at their computer and watch the birds make their migration, even though they're way high up and invisible. And they were doing this, and all of a sudden, one of the birds of the 8 they were tracking suddenly changed directions and started going straight down towards the Earth. And they could not figure out what was going on. Eventually, it landed in a little quarry area in Sweden. So the biologist went there and found the tag, no bird attached to it, and it was right next to a nest of peregrine falcons. And so what they realized is that peregrine falcons are hunting on these birds at 10,000 feet. That is so much higher than anyone had ever seen a predation event before. And in fact, one of the reasons birds are thought to migrate that high up is to avoid predators. But the fact that they're still getting picked off when they're that high up is just brand new news to everybody.
And how is that even possible? Dan, on a different note, researchers look to see whether using GPS might harm your sense of direction. Most of us now, you just have your phone tell you where you're going, and definitely when the route is planned for you, you don't have to do much thinking. What are the findings there? Are we losing our sense of direction?
Yeah, this is a really fun one because it's something I worry about a lot. I use my GPS all the time, and I've always had this guilty feeling like my brain should be getting trained every time I leave the house about finding its way around and getting oriented. And I just have my phone all the time. And my excuse is mostly that I'm just trying to avoid traffic. But a little bit, I know the way to my kids' school. I don't really need a GPS to do that. Why am I bothering? This new study shows that there is some evidence to suggest that using a GPS all the time does hurt your sense of direction. For one thing, people who use GPS are worse at knowing about things in their environment. So if I say to you, is there a bakery between your house and your office? You might not know all the bakeries if you're a person that's using GPS all the time. You're more likely to know the bakeries if you do use GPS. And then if you don't use GPS. And then the second piece is your just general sense of direction. If I said to you, Michelle, point towards Lake Ontario right now, the likelihood that you would point in the right direction is correlated to whether or not you use GPS. And so it's possible that GPS is sort of taking away our sense of direction and our sense of where everything is.
I still think people are going to keep using it, Dan. Now, we've been advertising on the bottom of the screen that it's a special Halloween report. So let me ask you a Halloween question, Dan. You're a bat biologist, so this has to be your prime time. I'm sure the bats will be out tonight. As a scientist, perhaps you could explain to us on this Halloween day why people love being scared. What makes us seek out something scary? Why do we sit through a god-awful scary movie and that makes us worry about what's behind the corner after?
Yeah, I mean, I'm somebody that, I don't get too wrapped up in the Halloween thing. I don't like to put on costumes or anything like that, but I do. You just looked at the picture of me. That's great. So, I mean, the beauty of Halloween is everybody gets to play, right? But there is a real scientific question, like, what are we thinking getting scared? Why do you sit down for a scary movie? Why do you put yourself through that? And the truth is that there are a lot of the hormones that you experience when you get really scared or when you're anticipating Jack Nicholson breaking through the door of the bathroom. Those are the same hormones that are secreted when you jump for joy, when you're surprised with something wonderful, when you realize you got that promotion or whatever that rush of adrenaline is when something really happy happens. And so that crossover between the hormones and the fact that they can be sort of ambiguous about what they signal is part of the answer. And then some people are just adrenaline junkies. They really get a big rush from that. They get a big high from the adrenaline that they get watching these things. I am not one of those people. I'm much more into a comedy as opposed to horror, but that's the science behind it. There's also the social piece, right? It's also fun to watch your significant other get really scared and to watch them squirm. Some people get a real kick out of that. Are you a horror movie person?
Oh, no. It stresses me out too much, and then I have bad dreams, and so I tend to avoid them. Definitely. Yeah. Do you have a splitting headache by chance there, Dan?
No, I feel totally fine. I feel like, just a little numbness around the ears, but otherwise I'm totally fine.
Well, before we let you go, what are the kids dressed up as this year?
We got a Taylor Swift, we got a Boba Fett, and we have a very ugly sort of ghoulish clown guy. I don't know exactly. What about your kids?
I love it. We've got oh my gosh, I should know this, Hermione, a classic Spider-Man, and something from Lilo and Stitch. I'm not quite sure, but she looks cute.
They always look cute. That's the beauty of it. It's the best time of year. I love it.
Oh, it's great chatting with you. Love the costume, Dan. Appreciate it, and we'll talk next time.
Okay, take care.
The day after the fall economic statement was presented, question period got heated today at Queen's Park.
CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris has more on the exchange.
It's getting increasingly noisy in here.
A raucous question period the day after the government shared its fall economic statement, one that dramatically reduces expectations for how many homes will be built the next few years.
6 years wasted. Task force recommendations ignored. Speaker, when will this premier finally say yes to making housing more affordable?
The Minister of Housing puts the blame on the federal government.
Before the rapid increase in interest rates that were brought on by the high inflation policies of the Liberal and NDP coalition in Ottawa, we were building more homes than ever before.
Then a challenge from the opposition leader.
In the words of the great Eminem, will the real premier of Ontario please stand up? Please stand up.
A feisty Doug Ford took Marit Stiles to task for voting against measures to increase housing density near transit stations.
So you may have to read your book again. You voted against making sure we did the BFF Building Faster Fund.
The premier building up towers of beer at an Etobicoke Costco this morning. It's one of the more than 400 new big box stores now selling alcohol, the final phase of the province's booze liberalization plan. The province admitted yesterday the plan is part of the reason LCBO revenues are expected to be down the next 2 years. Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
We're set to learn more this afternoon on the city's preparations for Taylor Swift's Eras Tour concerts just 2 weeks from now.
I'll be your host this evening. My name is Taylor, and welcome to the Eras Tour.
The music superstar is set to perform 6 long sold-out shows at the Rogers Centre between November 14th and the 23rd. The TTC has announced increased service to get fans to and from the shows. Meanwhile, the city says it's been crafting operational plans for the last year to ensure a fun and safe experience for concert goers and to minimize disruptions for residents. We'll have the details on the city's announcement on CTV News at 5 and 6.
And Drake is out with a new music video filmed at a location that will be very familiar to viewers in Scarborough.
No face, no face, no face, no face, no face, no face, no face.
The superstar artist from The Six shared the black and white video for his track No Face on social media. It features him and several others at the Scarborough Town Centre. Drake released the song over the summer after his high-profile feud with Kendrick Lamar. The video doesn't run the full length of the track, prompting speculation over whether the longer version is on the way. Well, dozens of Gordon Lightfoot memorabilia items are being sold at auction, and the list includes guitars, artwork, and even some of his prestigious awards. The auction is being held by Texas-based Heritage Auctions and is happening online now. And joining us is Gary Shrum, the Director of Music Memorabilia at Heritage Auctions. Gary, thanks for joining us. What are some of the items that are up for grabs?
Well, Gordon Lightfoot's estate, that's just everything. His guitars, his costumes, awards. Even we have his songwriting desk that he had in his studio where he would, sit and come up with songs. And just an array of really great stuff. And, we've got his Gibsons, 12 strings. We've got his Martins. We've got his amplifiers. We've got really great turquoise jewelry and just an array of stuff that you can go on to ha.com and see it right now. The bidding has already started, and we have just super stuff. Been working with the family, and they have been nothing but very helpful for us getting good stories behind each piece. And it's a whole history of Gordon's 60 years.
Are you surprised at the sheer volume of items that's available?
Yes, I was. When I got to his house and looked at the estate, Gordon had everything displayed on all the windows and very organized, very well done. Usually when I see collections, it's just in boxes and whatnot. But to get there and, pick up the guitars out of the cases that, wait a minute, that guitar's on his album cover. And this is a great stage shot of him playing this guitar. We've got great photo matches with it as you go through our website. We've got pieces of art that he had on his wall in his office. Of course, he had an unbelievable collection of Edmund Fitzgerald artwork, and that is also offered in the auction as well.
Wow, what do you think was going to generate the most interest?
Everybody likes something different. I've been doing this with Heritage for 20 years. And there's been people, very interested in the jewelry. And then right away, people were very interested in the guitars. Because just as guitars, they're great guitars, even that they wouldn't be owned by Gordon Lightfoot. But you go in there and we got just magic tools that he used in his craft to create all the great music that he did.
Wow. Do you think there will be another auction down the line?
We got all the stuff in right now, except we do have a second part of the auction that is internet only, and it's going to be on the 7th of December, which is there's a few awards, and we found a nice amount of set lists. He kept all these set lists from this one tour, so he'll write the name of the town and what songs he's going to play there. I really was very interested to see how each show he really tried to change it up. For some bands, you go see him every night, and it's the same lineup.
Yeah.
But he would really change it. He had a great love for his fans and an amazing love for what he had written and being able to put it out there to the public and let people hear it live.
Right, so much memorabilia to choose from. Gary Schrum with Heritage Auctions, thank you.
Thank you.
Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Jittery investors are standing by two big earnings reports this afternoon.
Andrew Bell of B&M Bloomberg brings us the latest in business.
Hello there. Here are your business headlines. Canadian and U.S. stocks slipped 1.5% this morning after forecasts from Microsoft and Meta Platforms missed market expectations. Microsoft produced a disappointing outlook for its Azure cloud computing business. Meta flanked ramped-up heavy spending in artificial intelligence. That has focused attention on Apple and Amazon, which report after the markets close. Amazon's report will provide insight into the state of the consumer, and investors want Apple to provide concrete information on demand for iPhones with AI features. And finally, oil rose for a second day after U.S. crude stockpiles shrank and fighting continued in the Middle East. West Texas Intermediate topped $69 U.S. a barrel. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of B&M Bloomberg.
The Art Gallery of Ontario is advising customers their data might have been stolen in a recent cybersecurity incident. The AGO says an unauthorized third party got into its internal server between September 9th and the 18th, and email addresses may have been accessed. The museum says the vast majority of customer data and credit card information was not impacted. It's now hired security specialists to investigate and says it notified impacted patrons out of an abundance of caution.
The Raptors were looking to avoid a three-game losing streak when they took on the Charlotte Hornets last night.
Grady gathers. Grady right to the bucket. He's got 30 for the first time in his career.
The Raptors got big games from Grady Dick and R.J. Barrett, who scored 30 and 31 points respectively, but they ended up losing the game 138 to 133. The team will be back on the court tomorrow to take on LeBron James and the L.A. Lakers. Meanwhile, the Raptors will be without star forward Scotty Barnes for some time. He fractured his right orbital bone after being elbowed in the face during the Raptors' loss to the Denver Nuggets on Monday. The team says he'll be reevaluated in 3 weeks.
The Leafs are back in action tonight after a big win over the red-hot Winnipeg Jets.
Take the cave off the body. Out in front. He scored. Pucked home by John Tavares. He picks up the loose change.
John Tavares had a hat trick as Toronto beat the Jets 6-4 Monday night. This evening, the Buds host Seattle, which is on a 5-game road trip. The Leafs are 5-1-0 against the Kraken all-time.
The Los Angeles Dodgers are World Series champions after a big comeback in the Bronx last night to claim their second title in 5 seasons.
Teoscar Hernandez. In the air to left center field. Judge on the run. Dead sprint now to the track, and it's over his head.
The Dodgers were down 5-0, but tied the game in the 5th inning, thanks in part to some costly defensive miscues by the Yankees. New York's bullpen then squandered a 1-run lead in the 8th, and the Los Angeles Dodgers held on for a 7-6 victory. The Dodgers' Freddie Freeman was named World Series MVP after breaking records by homering in the first 4 games and matching a Fall Classic mark with 12 RBIs. The popular slugger spoke after the game about his preparation for the series.
I did a lot of work in between the NLCS and the World Series, and thankfully my ankle got into a good spot where I could work on my swing, and I found a cue that really worked for me, and I was able to slow things down. I mean, all you're trying to do is swing at strikes, take balls, and hit the mistakes, and thankfully I was able to do that for 5 games.
Freeman was born to Ontario parents and plays internationally for Canada. An angry-looking mynah bird has gone viral after photobombing a highway video camera north of Auckland, New Zealand. The clip was posted on social media by the country's transport agency. It was captured earlier this month. Now, many say the mynah bird is a pest. It's violent towards native birds, destroying their nests, eating native fruit, and taking ownership of other birds' territory. How's that for spooky?
It's the eyes, right? The eyes just pierce your soul.
It needs to relax.
What's it angry about?
It's doing the most.
It needs to
There's no traffic.
Yeah,
Listen, you're squawking about nothing. There's nothing going on the roads.
Something going on weather-wise for us. We've got warmth, and then we also have this. I think a lot of people are wondering how this is going to affect trick-or-treating tonight. There is the potential for rain. Is this washout? Do we need umbrellas, or can we just go through it with the costumes on and nothing else?
I would bring an umbrella just out of an abundance of caution, because we're looking at just like spurts of drizzle. It's not going to be like this epic downpour by any means, and it's not a washout the entire night. But between 5 and about 8 p.m., that kind of peak trick-or-treating window, we are looking at just some bouts of shower activity. So just bring the umbrella. You may not need it, but you would rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. That line of shower sitting just north of us, right along Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. So it is creeping in. It's looming over us, but we are likely to stay dry at least for the first kind of chunk of trick-or-treating if you're taking your kiddos out early. It's mild regardless. So we are at 21 through Pearson. We're at 14 down by the water. So it is a little cooler, but we're still very mild. And right across southern Ontario in that mid to upper teen range, low 20s with just a hint of a humidex. Now, as you make your way out this evening, obviously keep the umbrella handy, but regardless, it stays so warm outside into the 20s for all the folks getting out and about. It does cool down a little as we step into the day tomorrow, but overall, it's not bad.
Not bad at all. Thank you, Jess. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and the whole team here, have a wonderful afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downey. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great day.